Good morning, parents. Welcome to the grade 11 parent meeting. We are still waiting for some more parents to join in, and we're about to start immediately. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Okay, while waiting for the others to join, I would like to share some housekeeping. Kindly please turn on the camera, and then also please rename your Zoom name to your name, your parent's name, and then followed by the child's name, so we can identify who you are and then your child as well, in case we would like to follow up with your questions or comment. And then also, later on during the presentations, feel free to send us your questions and comments in chat to host. So we'll wait for another minute, and after that, we'll start the meeting. Welcome to those parents who just joined in. Kindly please turn on your video camera and then rename your Zoom name to your name and then followed by your child's name. Thank you. Today we have presentations from Ibu Elizabeth, and then followed by my presentations about DP. And later on, our Dean of Students will also give presentations. And the last part will be from Ibu Angeline, counselor, to explain about university preparation. For grade 11, the aim for university preparations will tie in closely with the academics as well as the non-academics activities in SPHLV. At the end of the sessions, we will have the Q&A, okay? If you are driving, thank you for your time to join us. So it's okay if you're not able to turn on your camera, but as much as possible, if you are able to turn on the camera, that will be excellent, because we would like to know you more than just your name, but your face as well. Okay. Okay, right now we have to start on time because there are many informations that we would like to share to you. Should you have any questions, I would like to remind everyone to type in your chat or comment or questions to the host. Then we will address that in the Q&A sessions at the end of this presentation. Okay, I'll hand it over to Ibu Elizabeth.
Thank you, Ibu Esmeralda. So welcome parents to this grade 11. So at the end, your child entered diploma program. Well, unfortunately, again, we have to start this school year with home learning. Although many of you have the experience with home learning in the past, we do know that coming from MYP to DP or coming from other curriculum to DP probably is quite challenging for many of you, your child, I mean. And then because we do know that this DP quite equal with pre-university. So we know that the load, the contents, everything probably is quite demanding. However, we trust that God will help us through these 2 years. And then we would like to work together with students and with you parents. So we would like to as well that students to build communication connection with their teachers. Like I said before, this is kind of like a pre-university, which we would like to encourage your son and daughter to have direct communication to the school, not only to the teachers, to the DP coordinator, and also to the counselor, because they will work with your son and daughter for these 2 years. So I encourage for us to build a good communications. And again, because this is not MYP and this is DP, the way, the structure could be a little bit different. But we are excited to work together with your child and you. May the Lord bless us together and guide us through this school year. So before we continue this information about the diploma program, I would like to ask everybody to join me in prayer. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you for this morning where we'll gather together to help our kids, to help our students to be success in diploma program. Thank you for this time when we have time together to talk, to give information to the parents about what they will expect to have, what they need to prepare, either academic, either emotion, either in everything. We would like to pray and then to make this information as clear as possible. Please guide us. Give us your wisdom to all of us. Thank you, Jesus. We would like to pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Give it back to you, Ibu S. Oh, sorry. I think I need to go first. Okay, parents, there is a new information that I have to give it to you. This is related with the government requirement. So probably some of you ever heard about this last year, that Indonesian government have a new system about assessment. For many years, Indonesians have grade 12 national exam, which has been read off 2 years ago by our ministry. However, now the education minister have a new system, which is assessment. If to make it easy for you parents, it's kind of like a ESER test or like a map test. They call it national assessment. I would like to share my screen now. Okay, so this is only apply for Indonesian nationality. Yeah, this is not apply for expat. To stop. Why it's not working? Okay. So the candidate will come from grade 11. And then for this time, the government is the one who chooses the students. That means not all grade 11 SPHLV will join this assessment. For sure, we do know that the number who will join this assessment is 45 students, plus 5 reserve students. I'm not sure why they call it they need to have 5 reserve students. It's unclear for us now, but we will probably will know later. This is just recent information that has given to us. Again, this will be online exam. If they planned last year to be on site, it seems like they know the pandemic will not gone soon. So they said will be online exam. And then no makeup exam. So that means if on that day, your kids which be elected got sick, for example, and then couldn't be able to join the exam, then there won't be another exam for him or her. As well as the timeline. We call it simulation. The simulation usually is just for the testing and sampling if the system work. So it happen on 23rd and 26th. For this 23 to 26, we have select 2 students only. So our counselor has approached these 2 students to join this sampling. The schedule for the assessment itself will happen on the 13th to 16th September 2021. We have actually government provide 3 sessions. However, looking on our schedule and then to not benefit for those to join the exam in the morning, because if you know that our morning session, mostly we give it for the core subject. So we chose 3rd session only, which is happen at 1 p.m. through 3:45 p.m. There is several things that are unknown yet. For example, can it be done? Okay. Can it be done at home? For this moment, the government said it's supposed to happen at school. But we raised, not only us, all SPK school, we raised the issue of the pandemic. And then we said that, is it possible if the kids do this exam at home? No question yet, no answer yet. I will let you know soon. As well as if the question related like who will be the 45 students, no name yet until now. Therefore, I just let you parents to get this information. So you won't get surprised when suddenly your kids has been picked by our government. This is kind of day, first day, second day. So the exam itself is talking about literacy and then numeracy. I saw already the sampling. It doesn't need any preparation at all. So don't worry. So the kids join the exam without preparation, as well as when your kid join ESA test or math test, it won't go to need any preparation. I will share the sampling later on, probably through Ibu S or anyone through email or through Manespec for the kids to see it. For you all the students to familiar with the type of the test. Okay, so that's basically the information that I can give right now. Like you know, our government always last minute, so that although this will happen on September, that's the much information, or that's all information that we have right now. So it's not only applied to our students, it also applied to our teachers, which is national teachers. They need to do some assessment as well at the same time as the students. So that's information that I can give. Okay, the question and answer can be given at the end if you want to. I will give back to Ibu S now. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Elizabeth. Parents, feel free to send us your questions through chat to the host. Right now, I would like to start with our explanations about academics. Okay, just to confirm, can you see my screen about PPKN right now? Okay, thank you. Okay, PPKN in Indonesian Studies is part of the national curriculum, and all SPK schools and students of SPK schools have to fulfill this. And for that reasons, the high school students in Indonesia have to complete this PPKN and then Bahasa Indonesia as well as Pendidikan Agama or religion. In our school, this is in biblical studies. So please pay attention that when students in grade 11 and 12, they have assessment task in biblical studies. It's mandatory for the students to complete that and submit it as well, because that is an evidence that government would like to check from schools whether or not we have complied with these regulations. So if the students do not fulfill that biblical studies task, that means we consider the students have not yet complete the curriculum. And students will have to submit the task even though they move on to the grade 12 before they graduate from high school. Okay, so that is religion, PPKN. PPKN is for students who have Indonesian citizenships. For students who, foreign students, will join the Indonesian studies class. That will be a lesson and class to understand about Indonesian culture, Indonesian practices, and so on and so forth. Yeah. The grading for these subjects will appear in term 2 and term 4 report cards. Not in the first term and the third term, it will not be reported. Yeah, please pay attention to that. Now we enter the explanations about IB diploma. As many of you already know, that all students in IBDP has to take 3 higher level subjects, 3 standard level subjects, and then also completing the core subjects, which are CAS, EE, and TOK. And apart from that, as I already explained to you before, there are PPKN, biblical studies, physical educations, and so on and so forth. For PE, during the online learning, we will not have the PE time, PE lesson. However, during that PE lesson, it may be used by other subjects for catching up lessons or for parallel class tests. For example, if we have few mathematics classes for AASL, for example, so the test, instead of doing it during the class period, it may be scheduled in the PE time period. Students will be notified by the class, by the subject teacher, and then that will be also be posted on ManageBack. That will be related with the usage of PE time during online learning. What happened when we come back to study on campus? So when we study on campus, PE time will proceed as normal. Students join the activity. What kind of activity? When we come back to school, we will review that and we will inform clearly to parents. Surely that it will be there are certain types of sports that we cannot do because of the social distancing, but that will be informed later. IBDP is a challenging 2-year pre-university curriculum. That's direct quotation from the IB document that I shared to you. So this is not just a regular, normal high school curriculum. Why? Because the students are not only being learning about the content, but being challenged with the concept and application of the concepts in every subject that they take. And they are also challenged to be able to apply that concept, content, and skills that they learn in class into the real practice. In what kind of practice? That will be in the CAS, in the EE, or even in the class discussion in TOK. I will explain that one by one later on. So I'm telling you, this is not just a high school curriculum, this is pre-university curriculum. Therefore, when students able to complete the subject curriculum with high grades, like some university may give the transfer credit for that particular subject. Ibu Angeline will explain that further later on. Now, about grading, yeah, the grading in IBDP using grade descriptors. In the next two slides, I'll show you the example of grade descriptors. The grade descriptors are used by IB examiners when determining grade boundaries for exam papers and coursework components. In every subjects that students take, they have examination papers. That means we call it paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. Why do we call paper 1, 2, and 3? Because each paper will assess different skills, different content, sometimes in different subjects. Yeah. And how many papers per subject? Depends on the subject and the level of that subject. But in general, standard levels may have two papers only, and then higher levels usually have 3 examination papers. But each subject will have what is called internal assessment, which is the coursework components. So the grade descriptors are used for all of this that combine into become completion of the curriculum. Apart from that, extended essays, TOK, have their own type of assessment, and all of that will also be assessed using grade descriptors. CAS will not be assessed using grade descriptors, but CAS must be completed by all IB students. Now, the descriptors consist of characteristics of performance at each grade, and the grading in DP is not merely based on the grade boundaries, like what is 20 out of 25, something like that, or the weightage of examination and coursework components. For example, if the child gets 100% for the IA, 25%, what does it mean transfer to the final grade? That is not like that, but instead, from overall components, we need to check with the best fit descriptors. Let me take you to the examples of the descriptors for group 3. In group 3, in SPH Elipo Village, we have his geography, business, economics, psychology. All of that will be using the same descriptors. So in order for students to be able to get 7, the students have to meet all these characteristics in every assessment, whether it's in paper-based or exam papers or in the coursework, including in the class tests, presentations, and so on and so forth. In the class, we teachers explain the students about this, and students will have the access to the grade descriptors for the group subject. Look at the difference between the group 3 subject and then the grade descriptors for group 5. This is mathematics. Whether the child taking AA or AI mathematics, whether higher levels or standard levels mathematics, we still use the same grade descriptors. And this is what IB examiners will use when they determine the students' IAs or IAs, yeah, IAs, and then the paper 1, 2, and 3 for mathematics. I encourage everyone, while you still, if you have pop-up questions right now related with every slide, please start typing in to host while you still remember, and then we will address that question later on at the end. Now, this is the grading for EE and TOK. EE and TOK are graded differently. We still use grade descriptors for what is considered to be A, to be C, to be D, but the weightage of that to the total points will not be based on IB 1 to 7. IB 1 to 7 grading will be used for the 3 higher levels and 3 standard level subjects. For EE and TOK, we use what is called the grade descriptors for EE and TOK only from A to N. But in order for the students to fulfill the IB diploma requirements, the student's minimum grade for EE and TOK should be D. Students who achieve lower than D, it's considered under failing conditions. What does it mean? Not only failing from EE and TOK, but failing from IB diploma. EE and TOK are externally assessed, so the grades do not come from the school, but comes from the IB examiners. And when do we know that? In July, when IB released the results to the students. Specific requirements to attain the IB diploma. In order to graduate with IB diploma, students must achieve all these 9 requirements. I'm not going to go through that one by one. So the maximum IB points for the students will be IB 45. How to calculate that? 6 subjects that students take, 3 HLs and 3 SLs. If the students achieve perfect score, IB 7, so students will get 42. If the students get TOK and EE combinations, minimum A and B grade, that means the students will get the bonus point, what is called bonus point from EE and TOK, 3 points. So in total, the maximum score will become 45. Okay, apart from the requirement, the grade for each subject, students need to pay attention that they have to complete CAS. If students achieve high scores in every subject, but their CAS is behind, even after the extension given in June, so I have to report to IB that the students is not able to complete CAS. What will happen? That means that will be considered under failing condition. So we are not going to do that. So right now, starting August, the students of grade 11 should start their CAS, and then the duration for CAS will be 18 months and ending in February 2023. Okay, and then also no issues of academic misconduct. I will explain that later. SPH diploma. SPH diploma is a high school completion certificate from SPH. This is what we call that high school graduation certificate. It shows the evidence that the students have completed 12 years of education. It's very important for students to submit this to the university to show that they actually graduated from high school. So students who fulfill all the requirements for IBDP will be awarded SPH diploma. What happens when the students throughout the 2 years journey are actually behind in CAS or have finding difficulties in few subjects? Counselors will inform the parents immediately, and then we will sit and have a meeting with the Dean of Students, with Ibu Elizabeth as principal and myself as CP coordinator to come up with the intervention plan to help the students to graduate from IBDP successfully and from high school SPH successfully. Students enrolled in IB course program also eligible for SPH diploma as long as they meet the requirements of their individualized program of study. Counselors will also list it down in the letter, formal letter, about what are the requirements that the course students have to fulfill in order to get the SPH diploma. SPH diploma is very important, parents, because without the proof of graduating from high school, it's difficult for university to accept them. Okay, right now we move on to IB core. The first core that I would like to explain to you is CAS, creativity, activity, and service. CAS is not formally assessed. There is no grading. I already explained to you, but it must be completed within 18 months. I already explained the durations from August until February 2023. Some parents or students might think that this is over giving extra load to the students. it depends on how you actually and the students planning out for their CAS. Each CAS is planned to be completed within 15 hours minimum, spread out in 8 weeks. So approximately 1.5 hours per week. But it's not only when the students actually doing the experience, for example, teaching. Okay, some of our students like to teach the underprivileged or even helping teaching the junior kids, yeah, in junior school. So it's not 1.5 hours teaching only per week, including that 1.5 hours, including their planning time, including their meeting time with their friends if they plan it together. So all that 1.5 hours is accumulations of all the efforts that they put in for that week in completing one CAS exercise experience in that week. Yeah. So how many CAS experiences and projects? Throughout that 18 months, students have to complete 5 CAS experiences and 1 CAS project. What is the order? It's up to the students. So how many in one term? So approximately the students should complete 1 CAS experience per term. Your child is being asked right now by the CAS advisors to submit 2 CAS proposals to be completed in the first semester. Even if they can start the second CAS maybe in term 2, but we would like them to submit their CAS proposals right away by August 24th for approval. Why are we doing this? Because we would like the students to think ahead and think carefully, thoughtfully about how they are going to spend their time in the first semester to complete the CAS. Each child is assigned with 1 CAS advisor. We call it CAS teacher 2. So they will have a meeting with their CAS teacher or advisor once a week. Apart from this is part of the timetable, their timetable, yeah. And then apart from that, in every CAS experience, they need to have the CAS supervisor that may not be the CAS advisor. Who can be the CAS supervisor? Any adults, but cannot be parents or family members or staff of the parents. So for example, can they get, can the sister becoming the CAS supervisor? No, cannot, because we would like to make sure that the adult are able to give proper guidance for the students to complete the CAS experience and also give feedback, quality feedback to the students, how the students can fulfill the CAS experience with quality. Okay, the aim is to complete all 7 learning outcomes that I showed you here. That 7 learning outcomes must be fulfilled in 18 months. How to divide that? It's easy, because let's make it very simple. Minimum 1 learning outcomes per CAS experience, per proposal. So for 5 CAS experiences, choose one of the learning outcomes. So what will happen to the CAS project? The CAS project has to be completed together with groups or with society, and the student has to lead an activity, either as a club leader or a division leader in the club, or initiate something new and leading group of members and attain and complete that project. So by the nature of the project, the students are encouraged to have combination of learning outcomes to show the evidence for the CAS project. So as a result, 5 CAS experiences, 5 learning outcomes, and 2 learning outcomes for the CAS project. So by the end, everything's complete. That's how easy it can be. Some students may use combinations of learning outcomes multiple of times. That will be fine. But don't be overly ambitious, because it has to be realistic. Every learning outcomes require specific evidence. Guidance for this will be given by the CAS advisor of your child. This is the CAS deadlines for DP year 1. This is what they have to do. Yeah. So starting 16 to 27 of August, there will be CAS interview. Each child will meet with the CAS advisor to get their understanding about CAS, to explain about their CAS proposal 1 and CAS proposal 2, and that will be recorded. It's part of our report to IB that this is has been happening. Yeah. Okay. Move on. Extended essay. This is 4,000 words investigation paper. This is independent learning. Supervisors will be assigned to each child, but pay attention that supervisors are limited by IB to give directions. Maximum, we can only spend up to 4 to 5 hours, but 5 hours usually for science EE, but that 4 hours only for guidance and meetings. So what will happen beyond that? Beyond that, the students will have to come up with their independent learning, independent investigations. And the timeline for this is from November 2021 until May 2022. That means this EE will start in grade 11 and end in grade 11 too. Minimum score is T. Okay, right now it's about TOK. The TOK is a core subject. This is not an additional subject out of that 6 SL and HLs. Many students take this wrongly by considering TOK as an additional subject. It's not, it's the core. Why is that? Because any knowledge from the TOK class, any skills from TOK class can be implemented in every subject area. Actually, IB said that in every subject area has to be linked with the TOK. TOK is like teaching and challenging the students' ways of thinking, inquiry learning. So it's active learning as well. So students should not just read the textbook and memorize, but instead being challenged whether the information given is accurate, and how will they know that they believe in that kind of knowledge, and so on and so forth. So they can implement the skills from TOK to the all subjects that they take. Assessments, there are 2, TOK essays and TOK exhibition. TOK essay will be due in grade 12, TOK exhibition will due in grade 11. Excuse me. We have senior school updated the academic integrity and assessment policy. I'm not going to go through about these 2 policies with you right now, but I will give you the link to these policies. However, I would like to explain about it a little bit. Now, this is what we need to avoid from the students. It's part of the academic integrity policy that students, teachers, staff, parents, even school should avoid doing all of this. Otherwise, there will be consequence. And IB released what is called academic integrity document. I'll show you where you can read that document. I already asked the students during the DP inductions to read that document. So one of the these are just the examples of what can be considered by IB as academic misconduct. Any students who proven to conduct academic misconduct will definitely get the consequence. What kind of consequence? The consequence can be including awarding 0 mark for the coursework component. For example, when students plagiarize for the EE, that EE cannot be submitted to IB. So what will happen? We will report to IB, and IB will determine that, okay, the students cannot, this work cannot be accepted. So that means the students fail the EE. And what will happen if fail the EE? That means the students will not continue, will have to withdraw from the IB diploma program. Instead, that will jeopardize the completions of the IB diploma. Okay. Now, absence on school-based summative assessment like class tests, examination. What will happen? We'll sit at the next available opportunity the very next day. So if the students is absent for family reason today, so that means the following day they have to be ready even when the students did not make an appointment with the teacher to have the makeup test. However, once the student has been reported 3 times throughout grade 11 and 12, not only in grade 11, yeah, but throughout 2 years of IBDP programs, the Dean of Students will investigate the situation. And if it is determined that the student has indeed been absenting himself or herself to gain unfair advantage, the student will no longer be permitted to skip any summative assessment in DP and will receive 0 for the next test that the student do not attend. I will explain this to the students as well. Okay, this is grade 11 important dates. There is a link to this document. I will share it to you later on. I know that parents are excited and have been asking where to get access to these important dates. So here it is. Pay attention that there is updated 10 of August. So we may change this, depends on government informations or IBDP change. For example, if IBDP said certain components should not be continued because this is online learning, then we may actually remove that components for students to be completed. So the deadlines over here is based on what happened last academic year, and we adjusted according to the current academic calendar. Okay. Okay. There are some questions as well related with exams in May 2021. What happened? So if you look at the trend, the SPH Lipo Village average diploma score increasing strongly. And not only, I'm not going to talk about the increasing of the average diploma score, but instead, how we make sure that our students 100% graduate from IB diploma, because not every school can manage this during the pandemic. And how we do that? We do that by comply to the IB instructions very strictly. When IB said, show us your evidence, we submitted the evidence. When IB said, how do you derive? Explain to us how do you get your PG? Do you use certain assessment? Do you use mock examinations? Send us and explain every student's grade since grade 11 to 12. We did that. Yeah. So therefore, we give our accountability to IB, and also we justified every documents that every grades that we submitted to IB. And what happened is the strong results. And also our diploma students candidate for in the past years always get 100% graduations. Exam and non-exam route. Before the pandemic, IBDP only offer exam route. So all students in May have to sit and take the examination, paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3. The final grade for students consists of exam components grade, and this is assessed by IB examiners, and coursework component. This is externally moderated by IB examiners. We did submit the PG, but only for to give information to IB, but the PG from schools did not actually part of the calculation of final grades from IB. In exam route, final grades only based directly from what IB determined from exam components as well as coursework component. What happened when the non-exam route? The non-exam route, IB said this to all schools in Indonesia because of the pandemic in Indonesia and in the increasing cases, IB said they cannot just ask one school and another to allow non-exam or exam. So they said that in Indonesia in May 2021, all schools have to take non-exam route. Final grade consists of the IA, but the IA, instead of being externally moderated, right now is fully assessed by IB examiners. That means all students' papers were submitted to IB, and all were checked by the examiners. Final IA grades were not from schools, but from IB examiners. The second one, IB said before in April that schools have to submit PG based on evidence of students' learning achievements from grade 11 until grade 12. What kind of evidence? As I already explained to you, all the grades, including class tests, examinations, mock exams, everything we submitted for every single student. And then based on that, IB gave the PG distributions to all schools throughout the world. And they said that we give you PG distributions. So we could not give predictions based on what we believe the students will achieve. But instead, it was just fully guided by IB. We could challenge that PG distributions. We did. But the final decisions will be from IB, whether IB would accept our challenge or decline that. IB were more strict for schools in Indonesia, and IB clearly states that schools in Indonesia in the past like to inflate grades. So they look at these trends, they know which schools that inflated grades and which schools were not. But of course, they will not disclose it to us. But IB reported back to LV, responded our challenge saying that, look, LV, if your IA is as good as what you said, we will use this, the IA uplift. But all will be based after the examinations, after the examiners assess the work. And that actually what happened in 2021. So many of our students' grades, IB used only from the IA, not even looking at our PG. If the students sit for the IA and the paper 1, 2, and 3, the results will be more realistic rather than just focusing on the IA itself. That's why our students IA were always have high quality of work. Automatically their final grades will be boosted up by the IA uplift from IB. I just had a meeting with all IBDP Dunia last week, and not all schools got this privilege. And I asked the IB regional manager, how did you determine which schools that received this kind of treatment, which not? And he said that based on the school data, historical data in IB. So IB knows which schools that inflate, IB schools that did not inflate. Okay. Okay, right now it's time for our Dean of Students, Mr. Brock, to give his message.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ez. Give me just a moment here to share. Trying to decide if I want to share. Let's try this. All right. Hopefully you can see that all right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Mr. Brock. If you have been at our school through the MYP years, you can consider this a bit of an update to our department because the department has changed a bit this year. So our department used to be called the Pastoral Care Department, and my title was Pastoral Care Coordinator. But this year, in light of some broader strategic changes within the school, including the fact that the idea of pastoral care tends to relate a bit more closely with our spiritual life team, the decision was made to change the department title and then my title as well. We tend to do some of the same things we have previously done. So again, if you've been with us at our school for a number of years. You might have heard me talk about some of this previously. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about our focus in our department. Student services ultimately is about providing support services to what the DP office does and to what all of the subject departments do in their work. You can see the wheel here on the left for the IBO model and approach to the DP program. We have all of these subject areas, but then when you get down to the center, the IB has what's called the ATLs, which are the approaches to teaching, which is how we as teachers teach, but then also the approaches to learning, which is how your students actually learn. A big part of our role in student services is to help students to fulfill their potential as learners. So we spend kind of initial step monitoring. We do want to know how students are doing. And then when there are cases where students might struggle in a class or two or whatnot, we do want to find strategic ways to come alongside what they're doing to help improve their learning experience. So from the IBO's approach, a lot of what we do in student services relates to your children's approaches to learning. Now, to be honest with you, I could go into a whole bunch of detail on what those are, but a lot of it has to do with self-management skills, motivational skills, social skills, executive functioning types of skills and things like that, which, to be honest, a lot of us adults also struggle with in our own workplace. There's a lot of these underlying skills that can cause students to do better or worse in their classes. So as a school, it's actually really, really important for us to come out and supplement what the teachers are already doing in the classroom, and then of course try to find ways to help your children improve. Now from the SPH side, we have what are called the expected student outcomes. And so our department tends to focus on the flourishing learner end of things. Again, students take classes, students get grades in those classes, and sometimes they're not quite where we'd like them to be. And in a typical school setting as well, or even here at home learning, students have various social and emotional kind of challenges that they might face too. So we also work in those kind of areas. It's not just an academic thing that we focus on. We do like to look a bit more broadly at the whole student, because often it's not just academic skill that leads a student to flourish. Now, this slide is new, or this overview is newly presented to try to make things a little bit clearer. So depending, some of this will not apply to you. It's actually a full overview with the senior school of student services. One of the expansions this year and why the department made changes because we also now work in the junior school as well. It's not that those programs are new, it's just we are working harder with the junior school to partner together to create more cohesive efforts for the children. What you'll see here is there's basically 5 different areas of support we provide. For you as DP parents, the EAL, or English as an Additional Language section, does not apply. That is something we only offer up into grade 7 and 8. And after that, our expectation is that your children are already ready to go at a pretty high level of English skill. Students don't need to be perfect in English to do well in the DP program. In many areas or certain areas of the IB program, they don't even necessarily mark students down for some basic English grammar types of issues either. But it is important for students, especially at the DP level, to have a very high level of English. So if your child struggles in English or has struggled in English in NYP, that's definitely a good area to get some additional support. The main people you'll be communicating with from our department are the year level leads. And for grade 11 and 12 this year, we have Miss Joy and Mr. Owen. For you, it's Miss Joy. And they basically do the oversight of the year level, but they also help us to track when we find students that might be struggling in one way or another as well. Learning support is basically our efforts to help provide additional academic support to your children. In the DP, actually, our career counselors, Ibu Vivi and Ibu Angeline, actually provide that support alongside Mr. Christian, who works specifically for our students who might have an individualized education plan. An IEP is a very specific kind of plan for our students that might have that need. And we typically do not offer that without very specific considerations in place. Here in a moment, after I'm finished, we will hand things over to Ibu Angeli, who will talk about our career counseling, which is obviously a very important discussion for all of you in the DP. Because here in the next 2 years, your children have to figure out who they are and where they want to go to university and how in the world they're going to get in. So Ibu Angeli will address that in a moment. We do also have a part-time personal counselor that does focus on social emotional counseling as needed. That tends to be more of a referral basis, and it does tend to be at a more basic level than what you would get from a professional psychologist or psychiatrist. A lot of schools have kind of an initial round of personal counseling support, and then from that we can determine whether or not external counseling might be helpful. But you can talk to me anytime. That's a quick overview. Most of my role with all of these staff tends to be a bit more behind the scenes, but you are absolutely welcome to email with any questions or concerns you might have about your child, or maybe just some questions you have about any of these kind of areas. Thank you so much, and I will hand it over to Ibu Angeli.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brock. Everybody can hear me. I'm going to share my screen to you, and so you will have. All right, I guess this is Ibu S. Can you thumbs up or something to note that you are able to see my screen? All right, thank you, Ibu S. Okay, to continue on what Mr. Brock as well as Ibu S has already explained, please allow me to use this time to explain it to you in more details of we as a counselor, what do we do, and the DP program. Both of them has, including Ibu Elizabeth, actually have mentioned that the DP is actually a pre-university program. It's a pre-college program, that's what we call. Now, as that name states, that means we are on the transition period of moving our students to their university years. Now, during these 2 years, this is different from MYP, obviously, in DP. So these 2 years, each of the student is assigned with a counselor who will work with the student from grade 11 to 12. The counselor doesn't change and will do a number of things with the student individually. I will explain later. The counselors, the respective counselor's name has been informed to all the students by their homeroom teachers. If the student says, I do not know who is my counselor yet, please ask the student or please ask your child to check with their homeroom teachers, because the homeroom teachers must have informed the students during their homeroom and during their first year of school. Okay, now what do we do as the counselor of grade 11 and 12? We will monitor the students' academic progress throughout the time. We will be throughout the terms from term 1 to term 4, from grade 11 to grade 12 until they graduate. And then we will also check on students' well-being, including their approaches towards learning. What does this mean? That means like we will monitor their not only their progress, their academic progress, that means their grades, but we will also their performance in the classrooms, including their absences as well, and see how they are moving forward with the academic learning process. As a counselor, we will work with the students as well in terms of their planning to their university pathway. We will work with the students on their school documents, give out some individual sessions, arranging workshops and some other relevant activities that will help their transitions to their universities. Now, when we do these activities with them, we have a goal that is to train them to be responsible, accountable, and most importantly, independent as they transition themselves to their university years. We work with the parents, but the goal is to get the students to be independent. We need to realize that one day the students your child will, these children will go to their universities and be on their own. So there are certain steps that they need to take initiative from now on. They need to take practice from now on. And that is our goal, to slowly, gradually train them. Okay, you have a problem, find a solution, and how you can find a solution, talk to your counselor. Something along that line. So that's why we work very, very closely with them in that sense. Again, I have to stress, it is not that we do not want to talk to the parents, but there are moments of which that we would tell you, please, would you please ask so-and-so to contact us directly? And that is actually to help and to train them to start being brave to ask questions and find help when they need to, because that is very important. And then I know that this sounds a bit strange that I mentioned this, but I kind of like face a so-called like some moments of which that some of the students last academic year in grade 12 right now, they were questioning why that they need, that I called them to meet. Just want to let you know that the counselors have every right, every counselors like Ibu Fifi and I, we have every right to call the students at a time when we think that it is now important for us to meet with the students. It is a mandatory situation that they need to respond to the call. We as the counselors, we will set 3 mandatory meetings with the students in grade 11 during term 1, term 3, and term 4. That is, with every meeting would have a goal, and we will share with the students what that is. Okay, so basically these are some of the things that most of the things that we will be working with the student in a general view. Of course, the sessions, the way that we help the students is pretty much custom based. So it is a very case-to-case basis. We do have a lot of one-on-one sessions with our students. So just so that you know, and not to be surprised if they do probably talk to you like I've met with Ibu Angeline or I've met with Ibu Fifi. You know, it is normal. And it doesn't mean that if we call them, it doesn't mean that they are in trouble. No, it's not. We just want to check on them sometimes. Okay. Now, for university application settings, we use Cialfo as our platform. I would like to encourage you to make sure that your email addresses are correct in ManageBack, because we will transport that email addresses, we will export that email addresses to Cialfo, and you would have access to Cialfo to see the students' applications in the future. You will only be able to see your child's account and not the rest of the classes. So don't worry, parents, if you prefer to make it, you know, private, because it will be. Now, do bear in mind that Cialfo will send the login details to your email for access. So if you receive any information from Cialfo, please do not delete it, because it might contain the login details. Okay, please also, I would like to talk a little bit about the DP subject changes process. We do have a deadline for that, and that is on the 24th of August by 3 p.m. Outside that, we won't be able to actually cater or accommodate any lateness. Please do note this. We will inform the students and remind the students about this too. A deadline is a deadline, and we do honor those deadlines, and that is also one thing that we train our students to be aware about as well. Now, the procedure is the students need to contact their respective counselor. They need to submit their form, including the parent signature, and then they have to wait for approval and wait for the new timetable if everything is okay. I mean, everything can go through. Now, all requests for subject changes, not every request can be fulfilled. They are subject to class availability. Some classes may be full, or the timetable, whether there's any clash or not. So this is the part where we will talk to them. It's like, no, you cannot take this class because it's going to happen at the same time with your other class. We cannot split them into two, right? So we will discuss this with the children with the students directly. So just so that you know, of course, if you prefer to attend, please let us know and we can always meet together, no problem. But we would like to talk to the students directly themselves so they are aware of what they're doing in a sense, okay? Now, do bear in mind, once they make the changes, they cannot be reversed. They cannot go back and say, okay, bro, I changed my mind. I want to change back to my old one. It cannot, because the timetable, it's a computer generated. It might have affected on the other classes, the students, not only one students, but also the other students as well. So if it's too many disruptions, it's gonna come up with a lot of problems. So the changes need to be considered very carefully. They need to know what are the implications, including the university requirements, as something that you need, the students needs to be aware. We do talk to the students before they change about their classes and make sure that they meet the requirement that they need to for their university applications in the future. So do encourage them to speak with us if they would like to change their classes. Okay, so far that would be my presentation. I will stop sharing now and I will return the session back to Ibu S. We might actually go to question and answer, Ibu S.
Yes. Can I directly answer the questions in the chat, Ibu Angeline?
Yes, Ibu S, go ahead.
So
Okay.
the first question asking about if the child is chosen for the assessment, for the government assessment, what will happen if it's scheduled at the same day and same time with the subject class assessment? So we will inform the teachers in advance about the child who are selected by the government. So internally, from us to the teachers, we already make that kind of arrangement. Should there be any unavoidance clashing about a test, so we will definitely give the chance of make-up time to do summative, and this is not considered to be unfair advantage for the child. Yeah, that is the first question. The second question, IB grading. If the IB grade descriptors given to students, yes, we all teachers give that to students as well, by every subject teacher to every subject class. Okay, next one is CAS is right now 5 experiences plus 1 project. It's always like that, book. So all students in SPH Elpo Village always complete total of 6. If the students do beyond that, usually the students do that for their own personal portfolio, and then that will be to continue with their passions, but it may not be required to submit the documentation for CAS. Documentation for CAS is enough just to submit 5 CAS experiences plus 1 project. Related with PG, PG is based related, let me read the question carefully, yeah, so I know how to answer this. The PG will SPH gave the PG that is not correct with the IB. That means it will impact the students' application. Let me explain to you. I already put it in my presentations. The PG has to be based on the evidence. What kind of evidence? Not from teachers, but from students' quality of work throughout grade 11 until grade 12. We cannot make up grades, and the grades are not given. The students earn the grades based on the achievement and quality of answers that they give and they submit to the class. So how will that actually make the students disadvantaged? Because when we gave the PG, we make it clear it's objective to the students, and students are not disadvantaged because we didn't give an incorrect PG. We gave what the students show with the quality of work to the teachers, to the class. And this is all the evidence we submitted to IB. IB did ask about the not only the grades, but the quality of our school questions and how we mark our marking system. So all of these were checked by IB. When IB decided to uplift the IA, that's beyond our control. IB never uplift the IA in the past. This is something that IB just offered because of the pandemic. Whether or not IB will uplift the IA in the future, we do not know, because all of these accommodations, IB did not tell all schools in advance. Everything that IB informed us will be like last minute, or even after IB implements something, then only IB clarify. Yeah, that will be something that I can explain about it. Related with PG, so how can the child maintain their performance and make sure that their PG will be appropriate for the university of their intention and the major that they intend to apply? So starting right now in grade 11, the grade 11 students need to maintain their performance and always submit quality of work. And it's not, I'm telling you, it's not by subjectives, because we have to submit everything to IB. That will be my answer to that question. Any more? Does the student aware of his or her PG score when they apply to uni? What do you, aware or being informed? That will be something that Ibu Angeline can explain. But whether or not they're aware, they do aware, because the students may ask the teachers. When I actually sat with the May 2021 candidates, and one of the candidates was like, how come my final grades were higher than my PG? And then so I said, I showed the descriptors. Do you remember how you perform in class? And what do you think that if we submit the grades, if IB give the final grades based on the whole component, not only IA, what final grades do you think that you should attend? And the students know, because we explain the grade descriptors and the way IB mark from the beginning of grade 11. And when IB gave higher than that because of the IA uplift, that it's just a new IB system, that is how IB gave grades to all candidates, but not all, because IB said, just explain to me, not all students were given this kind of grades.
Okay, Wes, maybe we should probably, I probably give a little bit of information when it comes to the students' planning, when it comes to the university applications and the grades as well, just a little bit, yeah? Okay, every student, as I mentioned before, every student, when it comes to the university planning, it is an individual basis. It is a case-by-case basis. So we do look at very carefully on their interests, on which country that they want to go, as well as, you know, how do we combine things up in order to for them to be at the most advantage instead of disadvantage. So every single country as well has their own way of accepting students. Now, as we know, some of them would probably use this type of reviewing process as well as other reviewing process. And we do plan one by one with them. And every student that we work with has that strategy. We strategize if the score is better, if the score is lower. We do both things. And we've seen some cases of which that, to be honest, whether they are at disadvantage, let's look at the case each, an individual one of them. From what we understood so far, everyone has their acceptances, including the ones that they aim for. Now, this is the part when it comes to the university planning, I really, I encourage all the parents to come and speak to the counselor when it comes to, when they are in grade 12 to understand that the nature of their applications. Again, sometimes not I'm accusing the students, but sometimes the information that they provide to the parents is not exactly accurate. So I do want to encourage the parents to be rather, do contact us for some verifications as well. Now, Yeah, in a way, there are questions about whether the students are aware of his or her PG score when they apply to uni. That really depends on which country. Not everybody, like America doesn't really look at PG as much. They do, but there are other elements within the application that looks beyond the PG. So there are certain students that are applying to, let's say, to the UK, we will tell them, and then we match it with the university requirements, of which that most of the universities will say it is between 32 and 36 of the acceptances that they normally give out. So we match that, and then we work with them closely on setting up which universities that they want to go for. For Australia, it's slightly different. Australia is the nicest one. It has so many paths, and that is nicer in that sense. Okay, I hope so far that's about that I'm going to say. Maybe Boaz, you can continue on.
There is one question, Bu Angeline. PG considered from grade 9 to 12?
No, PG is considered from 11 to 12. PG is not considered from 9 to 12. PG is just for the DP subjects.
Okay, thank you. And then one more question, Bu Angeline. How many students does each counselor handle? Maybe explain about, we have 2 counselors, Ibu Angeline and Ibu Fifi.
Right. Thank you for reminding me that, Ibu S. So there are 2 counselors in DP. That is Ibu Fifi as well as me. There are 2 of us. Each of the grade. So the students are divided equally among the counselors. We don't teach. We spend a lot of time with the students, and that's our class times with the students as well. But in order to answer your questions, they are equally distributed among the 2 of us. Ibu Fifi is here in case Ibu Fifi might want to say something, and so every parent would know as well.
Hi. Just to clarify, maybe some of the parents might get confused. The person of contact, though, for the grade 11 is actually me. So if teachers have anything, or if they have any concern, instead of, they're spending time to find, who is the counselors of the students, then they will look for me. But me and Angeline, we will work very closely, and I will share the information if it's something that Ibu Angeline needs to following up, or if it's something that she needs to communicate, then she will be able to follow up on certain students. Yeah, so I think that's all.
Okay, thank you, Bu Fifi. I would like to answer Pak Paulus' questions about CAS. So we don't have a compulsory CCA because this is high school, and CAS is mandatory to be completed. However, which activity, which experience, whether the students would like to do it inside of school, in clubs, or even taking up lessons like piano lessons or guitar lessons outside of school, that will be up to the students. Students need to learn to decide and organize their time and selectively planning for their CAS. So can this be considered as CAS if they already have an ongoing extracurricular activity? Yes, definitely can. Discuss with the advisors, because right now this is the time for the students to propose the CAS proposal. So encourage your child to propose something on ManageBack, and then have it set up a meeting with their CAS advisors to discuss which one from all activities they may already have ongoing to be used for CAS. So CAS is not the limit for students to do the activity. Many students do beyond CAS, but CAS is only the activity that is properly reported to IB for the sake of completing the IB diploma. That will be my answer for that. Okay, do we have any more questions, Bu Angeline?
We have actually answered all the questions from the chat rooms. Maybe we would ask the parents whether they would have any more questions. You may unmute yourself and ask questions too. Ibu S, sorry, you might want to, yes. Do you have parents, if you have any more questions, please, please feel free to put in the chat room.
Okay, maybe sometimes because of the informations are too many, then maybe the parents can be need time to digest and then ask questions. So feel free to contact us. Let me share our contact. Yeah. Feel free to contact us or set up another meeting. When I was a year level teacher, sometimes parents in the PAG will invite for another meeting as a follow-up to follow up any questions that may come up after this meeting. Okay, oops. Okay, this is our contact. So please email any one of us if you have any questions, if you would like to have a further meeting to clarify. The aim for us here is to partner with you because in IBDP, this is very challenging for your child. So your child will need full support from everyone, not only from school, not only from particular teacher, not only from home, but we all have to support them, yeah, in order for them to be complete IBDP successfully. When the students feel down or contact us, and please be supportive to your child. If sometimes the IB can be very challenging, especially adapting from middle school to high school. So please understand them. When your child saying that they have many works and sometimes they may have set up a meeting with their subject teachers on the weekends or after school, sometimes that can be what the child needs. And we feel you because we all work together for 2 years to make sure every single individual child complete and graduate successfully and show reaching their best. Yes, okay, presentation will be shared definitely, and all documentation, I'll send you an email through ManageBack right after this. So if we don't have any more questions, I think we would like to end this meeting. Thank you so much for all parents who can attend this meeting. I really hope that PAG would like to give more information to the other parents and invite, if we have any more meetings in the future, that we would like to have more participations from all parents, because we have about 70 or over 70 students, but we only have less than half of their parents attend this meeting. Your support is highly encouraged. We really need to help the students. Thank you very much.
It's like a funny little watch. Can I talk yet? Can I make a joke yet?
Thank you,
Need to turn
everyone.
off the recording.
Okay, we have a meeting tomorrow with the grade 12. We need to brace ourselves for some nasty questions.
And someone can stop the recording.
Sure, I'll do that.